Welcome everybody to the live stream. If you're just joining us, we just went live.
Hello.
So I'm Brad. This is Trish. We're here celebrating 16,000 subscribers on the channel, Home Theater Gamer. It's super exciting, and I don't know. I didn't know that I'd be here. Like if you asked me. Oh, also we have a cat. Say hi, Katarina. She's very curious as to what's going on. She's like, why are you both in here and why are you facing this way? So yeah, that is what's happening. Please don't walk on the laptop. Thank you.
Okay, she's gonna sit there. That's cool.
Hello. She probably just wants pets or something. But anyway, so we're here celebrating that. We're going to talk about some stuff. We're going to talk about, we've owned this house for a year. We're going to talk about that. Maybe some movies that we've watched recently. Updates that I'm planning on for the theater room. And also, if you can hear us or cannot hear us well, let us know. This is the first time we're using this kind of setup here with the two mics. That's mainly because Trish has a very soft speaking voice. And
usually, sometimes.
Yeah, but she can.
Not.
Yeah, and when she laughs, it's really loud. But
sorry.
No, you're good. But anyway, so that's what is going on here. So welcome. If you are in the chat here, just feel free to say hi anytime you want. Also, if you have a question, put a capital Q in the front of it so it's easy for us to see and mark it. We're going to be trying to maybe stick around an hour and a half for the live stream. And we'll get to questions kind of throughout it. But normally how I like to do it is kind of the kind of tail end. I like to answer questions, but if you have a question, feel free to put a capital Q there, and that way we could see it easily. Also, super chats and super stickers are much appreciated, but are not required. So thank you so much if you want to support the channel, but again, not required, just much appreciated if you do. So anyway, Trish.
Yes.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I am well. So 16,000.
Yeah, that's awesome. I feel like it doesn't really speak to the fact that the home theater niche is so hard.
Yeah.
Like it's so you've done fantastically.
And I have less than 200 videos, which is
well, your quality,
crazy.
I mean, I don't care if I'm biased, but your quality is amazing. So
I don't take compliments well. So thank you. And Juan, thank you for joining us. He said, what's up, Brad? Congratulations on your 16,000 subscribers. Thank you so much, Juan. I could not have done this without you, without everyone else that is kind of stuck with us for, I say us. I mean, it's mainly just me, but like you're there supporting me. You've been in videos. It is a kind of collaboration of sorts between us. Like without you, I wouldn't be able to do this.
It's mostly you. I have no idea. I mean, we did the video where you drilled me, or not drilled me, but like quizzed me on.
Yeah, be careful how you say that. Some people might take it the wrong way.
Gosh, you quizzed me on stuff, and I did not do well. I kind of just threw you to the wolves with those questions. They were super difficult, and it wasn't fair. So I'm sorry about that. Also, Danksky is here. Welcome, Danksky. Says, hi, Brett. Thank you for all the videos you do. It helped me tremendously in my home theater journey. Awesome.
And that is so amazing to hear. That's why I do it. You know, most of us, I don't have like super high-end equipment or anything.
Right.
So I spend most of the time figuring out how can I maximize everything.
Yeah, it's really done on a shoestring budget.
Yeah.
And it's amazing what you can accomplish. Like I just feel that so many people would truly enjoy watching things at home. I don't like going to the movie theater anymore because the experience is so much better at home.
Yeah.
Would I like a bigger screen? Yes.
Yeah. I mean, always. Yeah. A bigger screen is always
bigger in a bigger theater. We're like doing what we can with what we have. And right now it's a theater room for 2, but there's only 2 of us.
Yeah.
And the plan is in the future to definitely have a bigger one, to have more people, maybe like 6.
6 to 8, I think.
I would love to have like just be able to see 8. Like that would be.
8 is good. I think 8's a good number.
Yeah, kind of even. Although what really something that bothers me, and I've talked about it before, is having only the 2 theater seats. There's no center position in the seats.
Yeah.
So like I could move the seats to the side.
Yeah,
but then it would kind of throw off the
mine.
Yeah, it would throw off hers, but also the aesthetic. Like I am OCD, so like aesthetics are somewhat important.
Yeah.
So when you walk in, it's like you have 2 seats off to the side. Unfortunately, I don't think we could fit a third. The room is too small to have 3.
Yeah.
And we wouldn't have room to walk around it. We'd have to like
climb over.
Like I'd have to build like a ladder or some type of scaffolding system
not in this house, but the cool thing is that we do have a home theater room, and I'm definitely a layperson. That's been established.
Yeah.
However, I'm one of those
Nothing
people
wrong with
that's
that, by
like,
the way. Nothing wrong with that.
I
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
I'm not an expert, but I do like good quality things. So
Yeah.
I want the picture to be good. We have an OLED that I love. Hisense sent us a
the U7H, the 85-inch.
Yeah, which is, I love the size of it. It's just night and day from the OLED with picture quality, which you know,
it's hard to go. It's hard to look at an OLED because, I mean, granted, it's not really a fair comparison to that, but the true blacks of an OLED, the black levels are kind of what make it an OLED, right? Like it's when the screen goes dark in a completely black room, the whole room is dark, but you can't tell the TV's on. That's really impressive.
Yeah.
You know, I really enjoy that. And I have a hard time. I was actually just talking to a friend about this the other day about projectors and stuff. And projectors are great for that massive immersion factor. But, you know, you have to spend a lot more, in my opinion, at least, and from what I've looked at recently, you have to spend a lot more to even like approach the quality that you would get out of a standalone set, either OLED or even like a mini LED. And you'll never be able to match that like brightness with HDR stuff. So like really bright highlights in an HDR movie, like you'll never be able to get, you know, super bright highlights on a projector.
We were just watching Life. It was
Life. The 2017 movie
was it 2017?
Yeah, Ryan Reynolds and Jake Gyllenhaal and Rebecca Ferguson. Yeah.
Okay.
We had never seen it. It was recommended by a friend.
And there's a point where it goes black and it's very noticeable. And you know, they're in space, so
yeah,
there's definitely it just feels like you're looking up at the sky, or you know, out into space, because it's so black, like space.
It does have a 3-dimensional look to it in a way. I'm really I just constantly get impressed by it.
Me too.
You know, and the thing is I calibrated it like a year ago with CalMan, which is like a, you know, I don't want to say professional calibration because I don't have, you know, a spectroradiometer or whatever to do all this. That, like, I know you have no idea what that is, but really expensive.
Sure you made that up.
No, I didn't actually.
I know.
It's very expensive. You can profile the meter that you use, which makes it more accurate, but I didn't even do that. So, but it alleviated a lot of the picture quality issues out of the box. So, it's probably about time for another run of that. I have to do 6 different picture modes because I game on it. It's crazy. But yeah, I love the OLED. Also, Decibel Destroyer is here. Welcome. Said, what's up, home theater gamer and Miss Home Theater? Is it Mrs. or Miss? I'm from Florida.
I'm good with Mrs. I'll take Mrs. I'm fine. One of 6 kids, so I'm used to even being called by the dog's name, which my parents still refer to her as my sister. So, you know, Mrs. is a step up from that. And also I see my friend Megan from work joined us. Hey, Megan.
Hello, Megan. I don't know any of these people. Who are these people? No. It's like I see regulars all the time, like, you know, Juan and Mike. Mike is here. Like, press the like button. Thank you, Mike. Thank you for coming. But yeah, welcome, Megan. Welcome to the channel. Trush.
Trish and I are here just celebrating stuff. You know,
Yes.
it's fun. It's fun.
So can we go back to Life and how
The movie, not our lives, but Life,
yes,
the movie.
Life the movie. So that was the first time I've watched anything in there since you changed out the subwoofers. Can I talk about that?
Yeah. I'm currently in the process of reviewing the PB4000s from SVS.
And oh my gosh.
Yeah. They were there were moments in that movie that are that are going to be added to the demo list. So you might start hearing them over and over again.
Awesome. Well, I mean,
But,
I'm really over. I love Ready Player One, but if I have to hear about the Sixer Fixer again, I might rip my ears off.
You know, I haven't watched the whole movie but one time, but I just play that race scene over and over again. I don't I have to highlight this. So I don't know if I remember Life, the movie with Eddie Murphy and Martin Lawrence.
We're talking about
this is this is not a comedy. It's like a horror
it's
from
a horror.
2017.
It's a sci-fi horror thriller suspense movie with Ryan Reynolds and
Jake Gyllenhaal
and here. Oh gosh, I'm not even gonna remember.
He's been in a few space movies. He was in Sunshine.
Yeah.
I can never remember his name, but yeah. So yeah, that's the one we were talking about. But Eddie Murphy was hilarious in that movie. Oh my goodness, Kevin is here in the house.
Hey, Kevin.
Just asking about him the other day. He's like, "Have you heard from Kevin?"
I was.
Yeah.
Was
so Kevin,
earlier.
welcome. Yeah. Welcome to the live stream.
Kevin's an OG.
He is, man.
Watcher.
He's been like,
yeah,
here since the beginning. Kevin, I will respond to your email one day. I promise. I'm so sorry. I keep, you know what? I like forget. My brain goes to other things, and then like emails. Like sometimes I'll look at my emails. I'm like 38,000 emails.
He's not kidding.
Yeah, in my personal email, not my home theater game. So it's like no real excuse. But
how many do I have right now? I have 52, and that gives me stress. So I'm one of those people that can't handle a ton of emails, and I can't look at his.
Yeah, I need to just start like at least daily, like try to get through like 2,000. A lot of it's just like junk anyway, promotional, you know, all of that stuff.
Yes.
But yeah, so Life, you know, I gotta say, I went into that movie with like no expectations.
Yeah, me too.
We watched it. We both enjoyed it. Did it like, you know, do anything super unique or super? No, really. But then I went online to just kind of browse reviews, and it tanked. Like people do not like the movie at all.
Really?
Which is,
I wonder, like, what are their complaints?
I mean, just that it's very just like cookie cutter. It's like by the books. So like it's just boring. And I was on the edge of my, like, we don't watch a lot of horror movies or haven't recently, but I was on the edge of my seat the whole time.
I guess I'm definitely, I'm a sci-fi girl too, my core. And I had been really craving, like, just kind of wanting to watch something kind of similar to The Thing. And it's funny because you said, hey, let's watch Life. Brad's very hardcore movie, so I'm more easy to please. So it's like, okay, don't know what that is. Let's watch it. And it was funny. It definitely kind of fit that bill for me. It's, you know, you've got the creepy alien, and it's horror and really intense. Holy cow. That movie's not slow. I don't feel like it.
No, it did take a little while to get going because I think it was just the anticipation of, like, you know, something's about to happen. Like you,
like maybe
you're just
wasn't
waiting.
it like 20 minutes in when stuff started, and then stuff just happened.
Yeah.
And it was a little reminiscent of like Alien, and
kind of has a little bit of that vibe. And
yeah, and I thought it was well done. So
it also reminded me of a video game called Prey in a way. A lot of I think I told you that there's some creatures in Prey that move a certain way, and the monster in this, I mean, I think it's safe to say that the monster or whatever.
Kevin's asking about 65. So he said he thought it was okay. Yeah, it was okay. It wasn't.
Yeah, that's another one that we said was slow.
That was slow. That was like kind of the opposite of Life, and Yeah, it wasn't horrible. Like, I'm not upset. We watched John Wick Chapter 4, and I'm still mad that I wasted my time on that. And I love John Wick. So,
I'll real quick before we move on to John Wick to kind of address Kevin, because you gave your thoughts on 65.
Yeah, sorry.
Honestly, I really like Adam Driver as an actor. Like he was probably one of my favorite parts of the Star Wars movies, the more recent one.
Mhm.
You know, I'm not a
I
big
like him.
Star Wars guy.
Yeah.
But I liked his character. I like him as an actor. He can, like, his drama work is really, really good.
Mhm.
But yeah, he kind of, like, I don't know if, I mean, he might not be like a main action guy, right? Like, and I don't know that he really was this or that in 65. But what I will say is we watched the streaming version, and I was actually really impressed with the audio on that. There were moments, this is actually before we even updated the theater room, if you remember. Like, we only had the 2 overhead Atmos speakers, and now we have 4.
Yeah.
So there were moments where I was really like, oh wow, this sounds really cool. Like, I think there's a point in the very beginning or near the beginning where there's a ship crash and the computer's, like, voice is talking over, and you can kind of hear it above you, kind of to the right. And I had wondered, I need to rewatch that scene with the new the cat.
No, you.
Oh, what?
It's something I wouldn't think of doing. Like, I appreciate it in the moment, but I wouldn't be like, I need to go back and rewatch it. Maybe with A Quiet Place.
Well, that one scene I've watched over and over again.
Yeah.
But
other
I
than
think
that,
I mean, that's just me. I've always been that way. You know, I think people that are watching or maybe watching in the future too, with, you know, the way the live streams work, you can always rewatch stuff. You know, you upgrade something and now you got to go back. Yeah, like, I always feel like I need to go back and rewatch certain scenes or movies, and because I'm like, I got to hear the difference. You know, I put in all this hard work, all this money, you know, sometimes,
it's your passion.
and I love it. And that's why I think a lot of people are like, oh my God, like, you play the same clip over and over again. It's because I've heard it so many times in so many different forms, on different systems, that I know how, I feel like I have a good,
you can tell when
grasp.
it's different.
Yeah. Does this sound better or does it sound worse? Is something off?
Versus, I know, like, with Life, there were times when it felt like we had, what are they called? Rumble boxes under the seats is that?
Oh, like they call them, like, bass shakers.
Yeah, that's
they
it.
have they go even, that's actually really I've Taurus, my friend Taurus, has those in his theater. And I think I mean, I've had them in the past, long time ago. But I think they're a great way to get, like, especially for people like in apartments and stuff that can't necessarily crank up the bass. It's a great way to kind of add some
dimension
dimension, almost like a 4D experience almost to a system, even when it's not cranked. So like, you get, like, some vibration, but you do have to be really careful because you can overdo it, and it ends up being, like, kind of gimmicky after a while, or you're like, wow, I'm just getting a constant, like, you know, vibration. But I really I think that maybe I know there's I always mispronounce the name. There's a brand called Krausen. I think they're going to be at M-Wave, so I'm going to get to experience those there. But people have recommended those to me, so maybe I could reach out and you know, see. They're very expensive though. Those are not cheap. They go nicely with our Valencia theater seats. So, let's see. Oh, here we go. After seeing several other YouTubers offering tutorials to set up home theater the best way, you are the best. Honestly, keep up doing that great job. You will reach higher quotes very soon. Thank you so much. Someone had a similar comment earlier, and I mean, it's just kind of why I do it. Is you're good at it. When I hear from people, like, I'm definitely, like, technical, you know, like, very technical, but I also, like, understand not everyone is.
You're really good at teaching. That's actually how we met. We met at work and he was training me.
Yep.
So
we can say where we worked, right?
Yeah, we worked at Amazon
in a warehouse. I met this woman in a warehouse, guys. So but yeah, we met in a warehouse. I trained her.
I was working SLAM, which is where they put the labels on the boxes.
Like the packages go through the conveyor belt, and
they
that's
get
where
weighed and they stamp down.
They stamp the address and all that, and then they get shipped out.
Yeah.
So a SLAM operator makes sure that if anything gets kicked out, you kind of troubleshoot why and all that.
Amazon's going to come after us now. They're like, they know too much. They've given away our secrets.
Amazon's too busy being crazy. So
yeah. But yeah. So thank you so much. Like I do enjoy teaching. I always just want people to know that it's like, yeah, like the equipment does matter, but also like setup and knowledge and how to, like, if you're one of those people that just loves to get the most out of something, even if it's like, I mean, our speakers are entry level.
Yes.
Yeah. The subwoofers aren't, but like the main speakers.
Yep.
I mean, my front, left, and right speakers are $180 each. Center channel is like 80 or 90, and then the surrounds are, you know, another like 80 or 90.
Yes.
And then the in ceiling, I think they're like 190 a pair. They're the clearest 6C from Empyrean Audio. I'm still in the process of reviewing those, but I will be definitely keeping those because I was using some Polk VT60s and yeah, cat. So like the cat. The thing is, she kind of blends in with your shirt a little bit because it's just so dark.
She's a
over
void.
there. She is. She is. Weber fan says, my girlfriend hates my taking over the living room for a quasi theater. When we buy a house, I get to have my own space.
That's awesome that you'll get to have your own space because I find the cat,
I'm sorry, he's asking, or they're asking, is the cat soft?
She's super soft. She has very soft fur.
Yep.
She's got like medium fur, and she's a good kitty.
And he asks, real quick, does anyone else have tickets to 70mm IMAX Oppenheimer? We don't have
Isn't there one in Orlando or no?
They don't. I don't think they do 70mm projection. I think they just do digital. There are like very few IMAX theaters anymore. Well, most people call them LIMAX. Like
right.
You know.
Yeah.
I think the one in Tampa at Mosey, the Dome Theater.
Yes.
That does 70mm projection. I
hate that one.
That is a very, very distracting thing when you're watching it's immersive, but like it's not in a good way.
It gave me like motion sickness. I don't like the Dome ones because the images are stretched on the sides and kind of sometimes on the top, and
you know, that's actually, you bring up a good point. You know, for years IMAX has had their own process of up converting like standard film and stuff, you know, to that like ratio where it's like super stretched. I think I saw like episode 2 at the Dome, and it was like
I saw episode 2 at the Dome.
Did you? Maybe it was episode 1. It was one of the newer.
I said it was a Star Wars one.
Yeah,
I wonder, that'd be so funny if we're both there and we didn't know.
But I just remember the lightsabers, when they would turn the lightsabers on.
Yeah,
it was like and then it would curve, straight. And it was so this, like, my OCD was like, please no, stop this.
Literally gave me motion sickness.
Stop this. But yeah, I interrupted you and I can't remember what you were talking about.
It totally wasn't important. I'm not the expert.
I think we were talking about just how you don't need like the most expensive equipment to get the most out of it.
Somebody was saying how I think what I was gonna say, actually, somebody was saying how their girlfriend doesn't want them to take over the
oh yeah, it was this one. Yep.
The family room, the living room. Yeah. And I just find that so unfortunate. I don't understand. Like, that just doesn't register with my brain, because maybe it's the family I grew up in and was raised in, but everybody in my family, and I have 4 sisters and a brother, so a lot of women in my family, and we just love the whole experience. If we'd had the money, we would have had like a theater and
like an actual theater room, like
you
know, like a long, like we would have it. I probably would have reached out to, if we had the money, and reach out to my friend Steven Smith, who designs home theaters for a living.
Yes. And
have him go through, and it's, you know, hire a construction company to help with that process. But I was still like a hands-on guy. I would be like, what can I do myself? Like, I don't know that I'd hire out calibration services or something.
Well, there's a lot that you can do. So Kevin had a question, I think. Up.
Oh, here.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, let's highlight his, and then there's like 5 other questions that I have starred. So Kevin asked, Brad, have you considered hiring out to do home theater AVR tuning for guys like me? So yes, I have.
Did you not just do that?
I actually did that locally. So right now I'm just doing it locally, because it is so, adding a remote kind of barrier or whatever you call it, it complicates things. And with even when I was doing this locally, we ran into some complications that it took me a few minutes, physically being there to solve, whereas it might have taken me an hour to solve over like a remote session or something. So right now I'm just kind of testing the waters locally, getting kind of like my feet wet a little bit. I actually this is the first you're going to hear of this. So spoiler. So my friend Taurus, who I mentioned previously, he has made some upgrades. I've told you, he's the one that I bought the Denon X6300H from.
Love that thing.
It's amazing. So he updated to the Anthem AVM 70, which is like a kind of top tier receiver, pre-pro actually. And he also added some speakers and bought some DSP, which is kind of the mini DSP, how it's for subwoofers. He bought it for his whole system, so all channels have like DSP functionality. The problem is he's not very his tech we call it the word of the month, because he said he keeps talking about his technical acuity not being high. It's like technical acuity. So he and I were talking, and he might fly me out to Texas. I'd stay there for 3 or 4 days. I'd make videos about it. He basically, I basically run through everything, because his whole thing was he wants to get one of these top guys, Anthony Gramani, out to do the calibration.
Yeah.
But he might not be available for
a while.
Maybe not even until next year. So he likes the way it sounds now running. He ran like the room correction through the Anthem, but he knows it can sound better. And so I told him, I was like, hey man, look, if we do that, like, I'd love to do a home theater tour, because he's got a couple $100,000 in his home theater. Like it's pretty substantial. But also I wanted to kind of document the stuff using the DSP. He has what they call Ashley Proteas, which are about $4,000 or $5,000 new, I think, each. He's got 2 of them.
That's so exciting.
So that is something that that I may be covering, but that kind of goes into that getting more experience, right? Like I've never used Ashley Proteas before. So that's going to be like a learning curve, which is why I said I'm going to need a few days to get. So it would be like I may fly in on like a Thursday and come home on a Monday morning or something.
That's so exciting.
And he's got a massive house. Yeah. So that's something we've kind of talked about, but like he, I was like, yeah, just give me, like, you got a place to stay, give me some, like, cover my food. And we're good. Like, just let me make videos and stuff about this.
Wow.
And that I'll get paid like that way if people watch them, through ad revenue and stuff. So I honestly, the reason I bring that up is Kevin asks, if people are just joining, have you considered hiring out to do home theater AVR? I get so excited I can't talk. I need like some medicine or something. But I would love to get to a point where, Michael does home theater tours where he goes around to different states, gets sponsored by companies.
And you're talking about,
I would love to get sponsored by companies.
You're Michael, you're talking about, not everybody might.
Oh, Youth Man. I'm sorry. Youth Man. He goes around, does home theater tours. I would love to get sponsored by a brand to fly to someone's house or multiple houses in an area and do these manual calibrations for people at no charge to them, over the course of a day or two. It normally probably takes a day. I would love to do that, because I think that, I think a lot of people are kind of resistant to spending, the manual calibration I did recently, I charged the guy $500 and I was there all day. But it seems very
like
in-depth.
So much money if you don't understand.
It's hard to justify that, I think, for most people.
Right.
Because they don't know what to expect,
Like the average person.
Yeah. And so if I could do that and provide that for people, then I think that would be cool. And I wonder if companies would be, I know Odyssey wouldn't sponsor me because I wouldn't be touching their software with that. But if I don't know, the speaker brand or something is like, hey, I got a couple of guys in, this area that have these subs.
I would love that for you.
And it's like, here's what I need to kind of do that and put food on the table as well, but also provide like a really cool, like kind of not really makeover, but it's like, hey, let's get your system like performing at its optimum, peak.
So you had other questions. I want
to yeah. I'm gonna hide this one. I'm gonna mark the other ones that we had that we just popping up here. I just highlighted another one. Would you look at that? Sorry. But yes, I'm pretty happy with sound here, but I'm still thinking it's just right yet. I think it's not just right yet. I'm always feeling like that. I'm always feeling like, there might be like 2% I could squeeze out of this.
I really think that might be like a, if you're really passionate about it, there's always room for improvement. That could be it. Because for me, our home theater sounds amazing and Brad will tweak it and then it sounds better. So if you're feeling that way, first of all, I'd say that's probably normal for somebody who's passionate about it.
Yeah.
But also, you're probably right. There's probably room for improvement.
I mean, there's always going to be room for improvement.
Yeah.
Like time, like we don't have an infinite amount of time in like one sitting. Like how many times have I like calibrated subs and then the next day I'm like, oh, I want to go try this out. You get kind of like after like 5 or 6 hours of me just sitting there going, all right, I really need to like go do something else. Like, and the thing for me is I do it all the time. Like it's kind of like part of my job. I'm not complaining about it, but sometimes it can get
I'm sure it gets monotonous.
It can, because it's like, how many times can you look at a measurement, like a sub measurement and go, yeah, I know. You're like, what am I looking at?
I feel bad for you because I'm not the person to talk to you about it. I'm just like nodding like, okay.
Yeah. Jed actually, welcome Jed, by the way, to the live stream. They said some of the more involved calibrations take 2 or 3 days. Yeah. And this is something like talking about my friend Taurus again, that we talked about, that I was like, I'm not familiar with your system.
Right.
I need time to kind of acclimate to that system and figure out like he's got manuals and documentation that will kind of tell me all the parametric EQ capabilities of what he has. But, it takes time to get that stuff done right, especially if you're doing multiple seats, which most people should. For us, it's a little different. We have 2. So really.
And I'm not that picky. So.
You're not, but also it does make it easier if you're trying to do multiple like seating positions, because it's like, well, okay, we can move the mic a little bit. Maybe if the seats recline, we could move the mic back after we recline it because our head's here now. But for like, I don't have to take, 30, 40 measurements. Now multiply that by 11 speakers and 4 subwoofers, and you're going, wow, so that it can get very, very kind of, some of the work can be very tedious.
Yeah.
It's just, and you have a giant cat mustache. That's what it looks like. But yeah, so
you getting comfy?
Let's see. We're going to answer some questions here. So is it George or Jorge?
I would say that's Jorge.
Okay. I'm from Florida, so I apologize in advance. I should know this stuff, man. I'm so sorry. He asked, do we need to EQ mid and high frequencies or only lows? So that's actually a good question that a lot of people do get hung up on. I actually had a recent comment from someone talking about running Odyssey. And I think it was in the video where I limited the amount or the frequencies that Odyssey was correcting, right? Like I was saying, only correct up to 500 hertz or 1,000 hertz or something. So there's kind of a consensus or a general mindset that if you're EQing, especially with room correction, if you're EQing over a certain frequency, you're actually not really EQing anything with the room anymore. You're EQing the speaker itself and maybe removing some of those like characteristics of the speakers. So like, for instance, like you have a very, I don't know, it's hard to say, like it's hard to like pinpoint exactly because there's so many variables. But a good example, maybe not a good example, I don't know, is clip speakers have horn loaded tweeters. So they're by default, like out of the box, very bright. Like they're gonna, like those highs are really gonna be kind of, almost like glistening with sound, if that makes sense. Like it can be, some people describe it as very sharp sound, very clear sound, crispy sound, I've heard. But that's like inherent to that kind of like technology. But then, if you go to EQ that out, or you're like room correction is trying to correct for those being very bright, then you're removing some of the sound characteristics of those speakers. So my answer to this question is, it depends what you want. I always like playing around, and especially like if you have the Odyssey app, just have it like, you can have a couple of different configurations kind of saved, and you could load those up and listen to them. Limit it to 500 hertz or 1,000 hertz or so on, like that, and just find what sounds best in your room. Or you might prefer the full EQ'd sound. Now, I will say, doing the manual calibration, I don't limit the EQ because I have a house curve, and honestly, after a certain frequency, the speakers don't need much EQ. In my room, they might in other rooms because of, it is a highly treated room, so it does help in certain aspects, because a lot of times what the mic will pick up when you're measuring is that echo from the room. A lot of people don't realize that. They'll do a measurement and like, you'll hear like the sweep. You've heard it over and over again. But you'll hear the sweep, especially at the higher frequencies, and then it's that they're bouncing around the room.
Wow.
And so it can make things worse. It can make things better. It can make things too bright or not bright enough. So yeah, it's kind of a complicated thing. I don't think there's like a blanket approach or statement that I can make. There's like, you have to do this all the time. I think it just highly depends on.
It depends on so many factors.
Yeah.
I mean,
and also like personal preference. So some people want a flat. They would like to see that flat line in like on a measurement, and that may not be what you like to hear.
Right.
So I think the great thing doing it yourself is being able to tailor it to exactly how you want it to sound. Are you someone who goes after those like, I want it to be accurate to the source? Okay, then I need to do this. Like this is, if you want that, then that is an option. But that it comes with certain. I really over enunciated that T in there, didn't I? It does come with a certain sound signature, to that. So anyway, I've gone on long enough. So okay, it's a George.
He said George is okay.
Yeah, George is okay. No worries. I like to get people's names right, though. I like how I was like, he said George. Can you believe it? Oh my goodness. I swear, it may seem like I've had a lot of caffeine, but I really haven't.
I know.
I think I'm just hopped up on this light just coming. Anyway, so moving on. Barry Riddle asked, just got a mini DSP and downloaded Room EQ Wizard. Should I watch your mini DSP or REW tutorial first? Thanks for all you do. Thank you for stopping by, Barry, and asking this question. So if you're new to Room EQ Wizard, I would definitely watch that video first. It goes over kind of the setup. I'm actually working on an updated video for Room EQ Wizard and Mini DSP. So I'm not saying wait, but there are some things that have changed with the later versions of Room EQ Wizard, especially the beta, which is like all I use now. So I would say definitely watch those videos because it can allow you to get it properly set up. And kind of acclimated and used to using Room EQ Wizard, because it can be pretty daunting the first time you open it up. I mean, I'm a kind of a nerdy tech head, and it was the first time I opened it up too. I'm like, what is all this? Granted, I tried to do it 12 years ago or so, like when it first came out. They didn't have all the stuff that we have now, where you just plug a USB mic into your computer and you're good to go. You had to like either use an interface or do that. It's so much easier. Like there's no like barrier of entry. All you need is to buy that microphone, and you're pretty much like gonna have an easy time compared to how it used to be. But I think that's the same with everything, right? Like it, yeah. All right. So thank you for that question. Weber fan asks, how do I integrate a stereo preamp into a 7.1 AVR? I'd like to use the stereo preamp for left and right speakers. AVR has no preamp outs, Toslink splitter. Trish, you want to take this one? No. So yeah, because you're only doing stereo, it doesn't have preamp outs. I would maybe look at a Toslink splitter. That could work. You want to make sure you're getting full range audio to the preamp. That's the main thing, because if you're just using it for speakers, you don't want to necessarily limit the information that's being sent to those speakers if you're just using the two. So if you're just using it for music, you want to send the full range. So that might be an issue. It's going to be hard. It might be like, if you're using that splitter, you could even do, it just depends on the device that you're coming out of and you want to go into. So
that's just what I was going to say.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he's kind of in a, like, not in a similar situation, but the receiver we had before we bought, the 6300H, it didn't have pre-outs at all. So I was, I had Googled, like, hey, is there a way that I could, add an amplifier to, what you doing? Sorry, the cat's interrupting. She just wants to be in the stream. Cat stream. You good girl? She is. But yeah, wow. Yeah, so I was just out of luck with that. Like I couldn't add an amp. And that actually limited me on the type of speakers that I could accept for review. I actually turned a few companies down because I just could not that receiver would just shut off with any 4-ohm speaker in stereo. It was very frustrating. So
so we love Taurus.
Yes, thank you, Taurus, so much for providing this great like deal. Like I have $500. I mean, I said that in the video. Like it was just like a steal at that price. I have the ability to add back surrounds if I want to. Room's a little small for that, but that's never stopped me from trying. So yeah, moving on here, we'll go next to Kevin asks. Kevin's asking away. Oh wait, I already answered this. Sorry, Kevin. But what I will do is he threw this out here. Brad, I'm going to shoot for the Harman curve next time and try to calibrate my very budget 5.1.2 system. I use the Harman curve on every speaker. That's what I use. It is, I think, do you remember when I brought you in after I did the manual calibration?
Yes.
So I'd followed a guide from a channel called Obsessive Compulsive Audiophile, which is what I kind of do my own thing a bit, but it's kind of the basis of like where the manual calibration tutorial that I'm making will come from. And I have to give credit to him because like without his videos, I would not be making these videos. So it's kind of the same way with Stephen Smith making the mini DSP videos that kind of inspired me to make my own. It's like, can I make this where it's easier to understand or something, and can I put it all into one? So but yeah, I use the Harman curve. And for people that don't know, a Harman curve is basically just, you have a bit more bass, but like it kind of over time, like over the whole frequency range, it kind of is more like a down curve. I wish I had a picture to illustrate here, but yeah, that's what I use. So what's great about it is it's very like pleasing sounding. So when I brought you in, I was like, I want you to listen to this.
Yeah.
And you're like, whoa, like you, I very rarely will I make like a big, I mean, to me, this is a major tweak, a major change.
Yeah.
And so for you to kind of recognize that was like even more like, oh wow, like this is like, so I'm onto something here. And that's what I ended up doing it when I went over to my friend's house and or a client's house, I should say. I mean, he is a friend, but yeah, that's what I charged him $500 for. I was, I mean, not to say that I was like, oh, I mean, I measured like 8 different seating positions.
You were there.
Yeah.
Well, you were there 2 days, really.
I was getting stuff dialed in for him. Like if I'm charging someone $500, I'm going to make sure that they they like it and they get their
Mhm.
money's worth. And I had them listen to it after the fact, and you know, it was like, hey, if you want me to make any, you want a little more bass, I can do that. Like, it's totally like,
Yeah, because it's
you know,
preference.
I try to feel him out. Please don't step on the keyboard. Next thing you know, the stream's gonna shut off because she's a little pausy with the keyboard. She's sending messages. All right, but anyway, moving on to Mike Ortiz asks, how did you incorporate, or which tutorials of OCAs did you end up using? I'm looking to try his Supreme Odyssey calibration one. So I've not actually done his Odyssey calibration one. I just did the full manual calibration. The looks this cat's giving me right now is hilarious. She's just like, please don't stop petting me. I did his full like manual calibration. After the stream, I'll try to remember to leave a link in the description to the ones I used. I think there's maybe one or two, because he did one and then he did a complimentary guide with some like updated files and stuff. That's actually what's taken me so long with this manual calibration, is I'm trying to figure out how I could provide files of my own without sending people over to his channel just to download. I just don't feel right about that. Like, he's went through the process of making those files, and I'm not going to be like, hey, watch my video, but go get his files, you know, like I don't feel right about that. So that's kind of like what's hanging me up right now. I might reach out to Chana, Techno Dad, who he and Joe Intel made the spatial audio calibration toolkit, which I did a review, sponsored video of. He can make those, so I'll see if but I want to provide those for free to people, so I'll see if he wants to like kind of collaborate on that, and see if we can get that done that way. But moving on here, George said you should offer consultation services, maybe discussing our own room setup, etc. with you can save us a lot of time and money. Think about it. So I'm actually in the process of building the website myself, which will have those services that I offer. Because I've actually I'm friends with Tech Enthusiasm, Jeremy Pyle, and he offers those. And he's like, yeah, man, like do it. Like, people, like, just to connect with people, you know. And obviously, it would be kind of like a service that I would offer. That it's like, hey, you know, send me a little bit about like what you're looking to get, and it's like, I'll see if I can help you. Because the last thing I'm gonna do is charge someone money
and not be
and
able
not
to,
be able to help them. So, you know, that's part of the reason why I haven't done it. Is just kind of been busy like building the website. I am starting a Patreon soon. I'm in the process of building that. But
now
again,
you said it, so now you have to do
I
it.
put it in the
Oh,
the
did
community
you?
post before, yeah. But again, with that is I want to provide something for your money. Like, I don't want you to just be like
Have you asked people this?
like what they want.
Yeah, what?
Maybe I'll do a poll.
What do people want from his Patreon? Because Brad is so concerned about providing actual value if he's charging people.
Yeah.
So I'm telling him he has so much to offer, and one thing to do is to ask people, what are you looking for? What would you like to see out of, you know, his Patreon? So
yeah,
because
I mean, that's
you're extremely knowledgeable, but also you're very good at helping people with what they want. You're somebody who really truly listens. So
yeah.
I'm trying to start my own YouTube channel, and just dealing with him,
Dealing with me,
dealing with you.
See how our relationship is.
No, but like working with you on it, it was because he definitely our styles are very, very different. It's gonna be, my channel is completely different, obviously, but
we could say what it is, right?
I mean, just it's going to be more lifestyle, DIY, geeky stuff.
Yeah.
That, you know, stuff that I'm into.
Making stuff though.
DIY.
Like
crafts and things like that. But the way that he would do it, if it was his channel, he would do it completely differently. Yeah. But he's so good at listening to what do you want and helping you get there. And so you have a lot to offer, and I really think that, you know, you do well with Patreon, and people would be really happy. He doesn't want to disappoint, which I get. And you know, it's, I don't know, you're just very, very talented. So
again, people that have been here since the beginning
Probably not many of you now, but I don't take compliments very well. So we'll just move on from that. I love you. Thank you.
Sorry.
No. But it does come down to that value proposition.
Right.
You know, it's like, I don't just want to start a Patreon to start a Patreon. Like, what can I offer that doesn't feel like I'm taking away, like, because I don't want to take away from the main channel. Like, I don't want to take, not the main channel, but I don't want to take away from the channel to put content on Patreon. Now,
like behind a paywall.
Yeah.
You're concerned about that.
I
But
am,
I really
and
feel
I
like you
am.
give away so much for free, and
Yeah. I thought, like, you know, if people are interested in like subwoofer reviews and want actual access to measurement files
that's a good
from
thing.
me personally,
Then if they want to,
I could put it on, because like, yeah, that might be something I could add. You know, that it's like, hey, here's a running list of everything in like a downloadable, you know, Room EQ Wizard file or whatever.
Yeah.
So that, or even like a text file. I don't know. It's something to think about. But yeah, it's just that value proposition, and I'm very, I go back and forth with it all the time, because it's like, well, if I wouldn't pay for this myself, you know, why should I do this? You know, it's
But
kinda, yeah.
the thing that you're not thinking about is that you have all this knowledge that other people don't. So
Therapy time with Brad and Trish. Welcome.
These are the discussions that we have when I'm like, you can do a Patreon, and you're not doing it just to, it's not a money grab. It's literally helping people. And I feel like I've watched your channel since the beginning. I've read comments, and I feel like people have been asking you for things like that that would make sense for Patreon. But really, you should do a poll, because
see what people want, like,
and
because
what they
ultimately
need
it's up to
too,
like
and what people need, and
what they
can you
want, what they
provide
need,
that, and if you're comfortable with that. But but you starting your website and offering services like that, that's a huge part too. And then the Patreon is something else also. But
I know, like, definitely Patreon could be like a behind the scenes look at, like, hey, stuff coming up, you know. It's like, maybe you know, I always think about like, hey, like, I'm still working on this stuff, but you know, here's a rough cut version of this that, you know, people, this isn't the final, but if you want to get started with this manual calibration tutorial before I even finish it, you know, here's kind of like a preview, you know, nothing final. Like, I don't want, again, locking something like that behind a paywall. You know, people do it. I just don't typically like to do that. You know, I kind of see that and I'm like, I don't know. So yeah, anyway, enough about Patreon. Let's go to some more questions. Let's see. Football friends, welcome to the podcast live stream. What year is it? So he asked, house curve pre-room calibration or EQ to flat first? Have you used MSO? So the house curve pre-room cal so I don't do any EQ prior to room cal. If you're just talking about just the subs, I do the whole kit and caboodle before I would run room correction. That's how I do it. So I would do all of the subs, like EQ, everything, through mini DSP, run through Odyssey or whatever you're using, and then disable the correction on the sub. That's the way I like to do it. Some people like to put it on the Odyssey or whatever you're using. They add the house curve there as well. But I've tried that and I didn't get great results with it. So I don't do that. I just turn off the correction. You do need the app for that on the Odyssey. For Odyssey, at least, you need the $20, not the Multi EQX, just the $20 app. Kind of sucks that they lock that behind a paywall. I know on other receivers you can just disable it. But that is your answer to that. And then, have I used MSO? I actually was playing around with it earlier today. I had measured 8 different positions in the theater room when I set up the PB4000s. And I'm just kind of feeding it, like, just doing some tests right now. I've used it in the past, and I've not been able to get great results, but I've actually figured out how to add like a target curve in multi-sub optimizer for people that don't know what that is. It's kind of a free program that you basically just feed it REW measurements, but they have to be specifically created, not specifically created, but they have to be created with using it in MSO
in mind. Like you can't just, you know, throw in random measurements. And if you just have one sub, I would say it's not worth it at all to go that route. But multiple subs, you know, looking at the responses, it looks great. But you know, if someone in the comments actually, I'm sure, has gone through this before, they've done a calibration and they've gone to play it back and they're like, that sounds like it measures great, but it sounds wrong. You know, like I typically have found that if I invert my rear subs, things don't sound right. They just even though they measure slightly better, they don't sound right. And I think mainly in this house, at least in this room, because it's so small, if I look at the phase and the stuff, the impulse response is all wrong. Sorry, I'm trying to prevent the cat from answering questions herself. But yeah, so that is yeah, I plan to do a video on MSO if I can get it sounding right, because like from looking at it, it looks like it should sound great. Follows a house curve really nicely, easy to do with multiple seats. Or I don't say easy to do. It covers multiple seats, so you get the better response across multiple seats than if you were to try to, you know, figure things out manually. But yeah, I think it's definitely like amazing free software. I just have not been able to get to a point with it that I feel comfortable kind of talking about it, where I'm like, hey, I would recommend this. If I can get to that point, I think when I do my updated mini DSP tutorial series, I will include a section for multi-sub optimizer, because so many people ask for it that, you know, for certain people, it's kind of like not worth it. But for a lot of people, having like 4 subs or something, it could save you a lot of time and get you like much better results.
She's fine. I don't know if you answered this one question for everyone. Does everyone use OFC for speaker cable, or is CCA common? That was Weber fan 1234.
I didn't answer that for a specific purpose because I don't have an answer for that. No, I didn't see that one actually. You don't have to look what kind of speaker cables I have.
You don't know.
I don't know. Here, let me Google that.
Kevin said OFC is better than CCA because aluminum is only 60%.
Oh, it's a type of wire. Duh. Wow. Sorry.
No, you're fine.
I'm so sorry.
As conductive, 60% is conductive as copper. If you're the galvanic action of copper versus aluminum, that may break down the cable. I mean, copper, I know one thing, copper is definitely better at conducting things. So
yeah, definitely. So Kevin answered that question pretty much better than I can. So I'll highlight it right here so people can see it.
And then Kevin asked me, any thoughts on Trekkie DIY?
Boom, right there.
Maybe. I definitely, I'm a Trekkie for sure. I have my picture taken with William Shatner. I like, love that. Definitely a Trek fan. So, Brad and I are actually going through Stargate SG1 right now.
Man, such a great show.
We're on season 2.5.
Such a great show.
We're halfway through season 2.
What did we start to watch and you were like, I don't like this?
Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
We watched 2 episodes. I've seen it.
I don't know why I don't like. It's not. I will not say Breaking Bad is a bad show or that it's like poorly done.
Yeah.
And it's weird because I'm such a true crime fan, but yeah, there's something about it's just so incredibly depressing. So, and yeah, that was it. Sorry.
No, you don't apologize.
Joy says, congratulations on 16,000.
Jay.
Oh,
Jay Boogie.
I'm sorry.
Joy.
I can't read.
Yes, you can. Just not very well. The text is really small on the laptop, so
I'm very far. So thank you, Jay.
Thank you, Jay, so much. Thank you. Let's see. Oh yeah. So we're kind of hitting an hour now. Well, we've been doing this for an hour. Wow, that's crazy. So a couple things I do want to touch on before we kind of wrap things up. I will say, if you do have a question, we're not ending just yet. Going to go over a couple things, but put a Q, capital Q in the front of it, so it's easy for us to see. I can mark it, and then we could read through them. Appreciate that. But a couple things I did want to talk about. First are we've had the house for a year, right?
Yes.
Theater room's been set up for maybe say 10 months.
Yeah.
Took me about 2 months to set everything up.
Mm-hmm.
So we've had it for a year, and drop ceiling's holding up great. Everything is great in the room. But there are a couple of things that I've been wanting to do.
Yeah.
Especially since upgrading the receiver. The upgrading the receiver, getting pre-outs on the receiver kind of opens things up, right?
Yep.
So I've been talking with Aperion Audio. They're set to send me a 7-channel amplifier of theirs for the main speakers. But I need to do some rewiring because the guy that put in the wiring originally didn't leave enough slack. So I have to redo pretty much all the speaker wires except for maybe the Atmos speakers.
I mean,
Or the height speakers.
The guy had a lot going on.
He did. And by the way, if you're curious who put them in, you can follow my build series and see who put them in. This guy.
You're too hard on yourself.
I know.
You did an amazing
But you know
job.
what? It's a lesson learned.
Yeah.
For next time. Same with
It was your first time.
Yeah.
Sherlock. I call him Sherlock because Sherlock Holmes threw away the violin after he didn't master it in 3 days, and that's totally Brad.
I am Sherlock. That makes you feel really self-conscious now. So I need to rerun the speaker wire, which basically means I need to buy more speaker wire. Because also, if you've seen our entertainment stand in previous videos, the amp is too big. It will not fit in the entertainment stand. The amp or the receiver is already kind of squished in there, but there's enough clearance on top where it doesn't overheat or anything. So I got like a small little mono-price amp stand that I'm going to put off to the side and like basically route the speaker cables over there.
Mm-hmm.
So we kind of solved that. But in doing that, I'll need to basically, get back in the drop ceiling because I ran some speaker cables through there and everything. But so I'll need to do that. If you've seen the build series, we have a couple of windows in that room. And the one big kind of arch window above everything is still generating a lot of heat above the drop ceiling. So I need to put like some type of vapor barrier there. Someone suggested that I tint it. However, I don't think that that's going to be possible with the drop ceiling grid in place. And I'm not taking the grid down. So I'm going to kind of basically do what I did with the bottom, which is just put like a massive piece of cardboard with some Reflectix. The window is covered now.
Yes.
But anyway, so that will take care of a lot of the heat issues. So running the speaker wires, that's the thing. Taking care of that. But the main thing is I've wanted to kind of push this the TV. The TV is about like 8 to 12 inches from the wall in the front, like the whole stand. And I did that because I'm like, if I need to swap things out, it'd be easier. I've never needed to get behind there for most things unless something goes wrong and then I have to try to troubleshoot. So my plan is I want to push that stand all the way forward because honestly, it's kind of not in the bed. Like it's a little too close.
Yeah,
to
definitely.
Me. Like, when we recline our feet up, the bottom of the seats almost like they're probably about a foot away from the stand. Like it's really close.
It's
so if we could gain another foot there,
that would be great.
That would be great. It would prevent us from moving the speakers further back against the back wall. I don't want to do that.
Right.
So if we can push that, that would also mean that I could get the center channel out and put it on a stand in front.
Yeah.
So that also opens, up the possibility of reviewing center channel speakers.
To rewire things.
Need to rewire things and potentially build a stand for the center channel. Kind of.
I know you can do.
Go with my woodworking skills and up those. So that's kind of like, the updates. There's no real like big gear changes or anything.
Not right now.
Not right now. I mean, we don't, we're not looking to spend a ton of money trying to do this. I'm trying to do it as with everything I do. I try to do it as cheaply as possible.
Yes.
which is why I did all of the work in the theater room myself. I didn't like hire someone to paint it. I didn't hire someone to do the drop ceiling.
All of it.
It was yeah, something I'll never do again is paint drop ceiling tiles. That was a pain in the butt.
But they look so good.
They do.
I'm glad
they do.
Black. They look
and
really
the great thing is I painted more than I needed.
Yes.
So I have backups in case I want to try some different speakers or something. The main reason I did that was to kind of experiment with Atmos placement and
which is
I've been able to and settle on stuff. So
you had some like forethought there about things.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Can we talk about what you and I are doing tomorrow?
What are we doing tomorrow? Tell me.
What am I going to help you film?
Oh, yeah, updated home theater tour.
Yes, finally. So I'll film it, right?
Yeah. So basically I'll be walking around in the theater room talking about stuff. I've already filmed all of the kind of insert shots, close-ups of the stuff. So we really just need to film me, jabbering on about this is the Blu-ray player. This is the TV. This is I'm going to do it exactly like that. It's going to be the most boring, like, well, here we are. No. So we're filming that tomorrow. That might be the next video out. I have the PB4000 unboxing and impressions video. Impressions are incredibly great on those, but do not try to move them by yourself.
They're huge.
They're 155 pounds or something like that. Crazy. But yeah, so that's kind of like the plan right now is to kind of get some updated things in the theater room, and eventually I want to like maybe reach out to Govee or something and try to get some type of lighting done in the room, because we still have those lamps that have been in there that just don't, those floor lamps, they just don't really
add
like
to $10 IKEA lamps.
Yeah, they don't really add anything. They're not really fitting of the aesthetic.
They're just necessary.
Yeah. I thought about trying to incorporate bass traps, but the room is so small that I think it would be difficult to do. But yeah, so those are the plans. But yeah, we're doing the home theater tour tomorrow.
Not sure when it'll be out, but
sometime next week or the following. And then yeah, I think I've made the announcement. I'm going to M-Wave in the middle of July. I'll be there for the whole event. And I'm also going to Audio Advice Live in August. So exciting things. So looks like we have
one more question.
So Decibel Destroyer asks, I watched all your mini DSP videos and love them, but question I have is, after I set and calibrate mini DSP and then, run Odyssey, do I use flatter reference, and can I still use dynamic EQ? So a couple of things with that is you can use dynamic EQ. I'll kind of go backwards, I guess, maybe. If you're going to use dynamic EQ, I wouldn't recommend putting a house curve on the subs through mini DSP. I would just EQ them flat, which is, considerably easier to do in terms of like overall settings and Room EQ Wizard. So you could EQ them flat, because what the dynamic EQ is going to do is kind of add that house curve itself. So you could do that. You can also, if you're using flatter reference, so if you're using just the receiver itself and not the EQ editor app, flat would be preferable, but you definitely want to make sure you EQ the subs flat. Because you're going to be boosting that bass to astronomical levels. If you add a house curve, like say you do the house curve that I did in the video, which is like you have like 10 decibels more up to 30 hertz, and then it slips down to like 75. So you already have 10 decibels more, and then depending on your volume and how dynamic EQ works, it might boost that up, double. So you might be at 20 decibels instead of 10, and you could run into issues where like the bass is going to sound very overpowering of everything else, but you might also like start to run into output limitations on your subs. So that would be my answer to that. Alternatively, if you have the editor app on your phone or on your tablet, again, this is a $20 app, you can disable the sub correction after you run Odyssey. In that case, though, you'd want to stick with reference, and Odyssey tells you that when you use the app. You don't want to change it to flat because it'll just kind of mess up everything. So yeah, that's kind of like a multiple. I mean, it was multiple questions, so I try to answer it multiple ways, I guess.
You did good.
Yeah, sometimes it's like it's like kind of a cut and dry. Like where you're like, okay, this is exactly what I need to do. Okay. Then other times it's like, well, it's complicated because like if you're not using the app, then it becomes complicated because you're limited by like what you're able to turn off and stuff after you do the room correction. So that can kind of make things a little difficult.
Then you have another question.
I saw that.
Is that CA Check? Is that?
I think so. Yeah, I think we're friends. We're friends on Facebook. I have not picked a barbecue spot to try in Kansas City.
Kansas City, Missouri.
Misery, yeah, as people call it. Yeah, no, I have not yet. I haven't honestly really looked at it too much. Just trying to figure things out before I need to get a few things squared away before I start thinking about M-Wave. You know, like videos and stuff. Like trying to get videos out. A couple things I needed to buy before that happens. So yeah, I will be filming a lot of stuff for Michael at M-Wave.
For his channel.
For his channel, but at promo, like, I mean, it's no secret. Like I can talk about it. He basically hired me and is paying me to film a bunch of promotional kind of behind the scenes stuff. So I will be there working most of the time. I don't know how much I'll cover on my channel, if any, really, because if I'm filming for him most of the day, it's gonna be hard to like film for me.
Yeah.
At the same time. So that is something I wanted to add. I will be there, you know, for sure, and I won't be working 100% of the time, but I will be working a lot. Like I'll be just shooting things with a camera, and yeah, trying to make things look good so that way he has stuff that he can use on his channel, but also for like promotional material for the next M-Wave next year, because he doesn't really have much video in that regard. So let me see. George asked, do you think it's possible that placing two subs together can be the best option in a room? What happens? That happens to me once, but maybe what I was doing was just reinforcing the lows. REW said was okay, weird. So if you're talking about like stacking subwoofers, some people do like that. I have never found a situation where it sounds better in my personal space. You can run into issues. I mean, I wish some of the more technical guys were here from like on Michael on Youthman's his Sunday live streams, because they would be able to answer the exact like reason why people maybe shouldn't do that. You know, but I personally yeah.
Good short sweet answers. No, you don't.
Yeah, I mean,
maybe it's
you can play around with it, but listen to it. Honestly, if you have two subs, depending on the size of the room, how many seats, the main benefit of multiple subs is covering a larger area as well as increased output, right? So like over many different seats, you're going to have more even uniform bass. Whereas if you put that sub right on top of the other sub facing the same direction, you're essentially just you know, you might have a slight frequency response variation between the two, but it's going to just have the same amount. And so if you start moving around the room, you're not really going to get the same benefit as you were to, you know, if you were to put like one sub in the front right corner and then one sub in the rear left corner, and kind of, you know, that way you're covering more area. I hope that makes sense.
Is it kind of like sprinklers? Like you wouldn't put two sprinklers next to each other because they're going to be covering kind of the same area?
Kind of. Let's say that. So, but yeah, hopefully that answers your question. Is there anything else you want to talk about, Trish, before we wrap things up?
No.
Well, you know what? We were going to touch on John Wick Chapter 4.
Oh gosh.
And how
that was awful. I'm sorry. It just, I don't think that it was bad, but then the worst part were the freaking stairs.
Yeah, and I don't want to give any spoilers
without
away.
Giving too much away, but there's no way that somebody's gonna fall down like, I don't know, 200 stairs with like landings every 20, 30 stairs.
Yeah, you know, we watched it. I felt insulted.
Sorry.
You're fine. You're fine. I felt insulted having watched it. I did not enjoy it at all. And I enjoyed the first 3.
Yeah.
I enjoyed the first one the most. The first one is my favorite.
Kevin said 4 was
Yeah.
winning. Yes.
Yeah. And I mean, you know, everyone is entitled to their opinion. So I'm not going to say that, you know, oh, you know, if you love it, like you're wrong. I mean, that's my personal opinion. But what I will say is this one, like, I know that none of them are going after extreme realism, but this one felt like a John Wick Chapter 4 Fast and Furious.
Yeah.
Like that's there were parts in the movie where I'm just like I remember when you know, Fast and the Furious started out, they were also going for a more realistic tone with the first movie, even though there was some like heightened parts. But then as the series progressed, it just became this kind of like defy physics, you know, let's send cars to space, let's do this. And it's like
physics and basic anatomy, like
yeah,
you can't fall 30 feet on your head and be okay.
Yeah, but John Wick can.
Yeah.
Okay. There were some cool moments in the movie, but
yes, there were, but
I enjoyed the third one. I enjoyed the second one more, and I enjoyed the first one the most.
The first was
so
best.
It kind of like tapered off, and then 4, I was like, I will not see any other John Wick movie,
no,
probably.
I don't think unless it was completely different and they're like, okay, we're sorry.
Yeah. And I did also feel like, I know Keanu Reeves is getting a bit older.
Yeah.
And the way they shoot these movies, if you know, as a film buff, as a film kind of like school nerd, you know, the way that they shoot a lot of action movies these days, especially like Marvel movies, a lot of quick cuts during fights. So you can't actually see the fact that the people both aren't really fighting, and a lot of people really can't fight. Like they're just bad at it. So there's a lot of quick cuts. There's a lot of like kind of visual trickery or effects to make the punches actually seem like they're connecting. But the way they do it in John Wick is very like old school, kind of like Jackie Chan stuff, where they hold on that shot, they don't cut, and it's kind of like a wide shot, so you're just seeing everything in real time. And I think that's like great, but I started to feel like I don't know. The Taken movies are really popular. And I love the first one.
Yeah.
Second one was wow. And then the third one, I was like, what?
Yeah.
It literally, I remember watching it. I'm like, Liam Neeson's just standing still. Like he's just not even moving. And the camera's doing this whole thing. And you're supposed to believe that it's, you know, going all, you know, crazy. Like it's very high action. They're trying to do like a Born Identity thing where like, hey, you know, we're just masking the action because it's not really happening.
Yeah.
So, but that's kind of how I felt with a lot of John Wick, where it's just like, I could actually see them waiting, like the stuntmen, and it's like one of those things is once you kind of see that, you can't unsee it.
Also,
you know?
Somebody constantly throwing themselves downstairs. It's like,
oh yeah, there's a lot of stair
you had
things.
to throw yourself down that next flight. you weren't just falling. You were actually. It just reminded me of like a toddler who's like having a tantrum and will continue to like spin on the floor.
Oh my gosh.
Like, yeah. Or actually, I said that scene with the stairs reminded me of Princess Bride when they were falling down the hill. It just was, at least Princess Bride was meant to be campy.
Yeah. Honestly, when there was that scene with the stairs, and I was thinking of it's a movie you've never seen, a movie called Kung Pao Enter the Fist, which is like,
is that like the kind of parody of,
well, it's not even, it's like they took a movie from the 70s and they green screened this guy who I think like co-wrote it, and also he is like, it's just totally ridiculous. There's the scene in the beginning where a baby is just falling down the side of a cliff or like over and over again for like, it feels like a solid, like, you know, 2 minutes. And then it comes to a road, a lady picks it, it's like, oh, and then just drops it down the next part and it keeps rolling. Like, it's so ridiculous. It honestly felt like that. Like it was
sounds
almost like
that.
I was like, are we being punked right now? Like, is this for real?
It was so bad.
But yeah, so fight scenes like that and stuff, it just, after watching movies like The Raid Redemption, or The Raid, is it just Raid? I think it's just The Raid, and then The Raid 2 Redemption.
those movies have like some amazing fight choreography and stuff that just, and I see what they're going for with John Wick, but yeah, it was very disappointing.
Yeah.
Right, but
Jed Presley says The Covenant was great.
what is it? I'm not familiar with The Covenant.
Me either.
Like, should I Google it?
Google it.
Google it. The Covenant.
I'm thinking of The Revenant with
Oh, it's Jake Gyllenhaal. Oh, Guy Ritchie's The Covenant. I'll have to check that out. It's a rip-roaring war thriller with great lead turns that the IMDb cannot. Who wrote this? That rarely lets up across a 2-hour runtime. Okay, definitely check it out for sure. Thanks for the recommendation, Jed. Appreciate it. So I think, yeah, you want to talk about anything else?
No.
I think we're good. We've gone on. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. We're at 16K. That's insane.
Yes.
We're actually like 16.2 or almost 3 now. So I want to thank each and every one of you that have joined the live stream, that have subscribed to the channel over the years, stuck with me, been very active in the comment section. And, without you guys, I wouldn't be doing this. Like, if there was nobody watching, I don't know. Like, it's just, okay, why keep doing it? But, yeah, like you guys make it. So I want to keep doing this. I want to help, get the most out of stuff that you guys have. And I want to try to help you. It's like, here are some free ways you can do this. And she snuck that in there.
Yes,
she had to get
did.
one walk across the laptop. Anyway,
okay.
So on that note, thank you again so much for joining. And yeah, I'll be working on that home theater tour with Trish. We'll be filming it. And PB4000 unboxing will be coming out. I'm also working on a GeForce Now video. I subscribed to GeForce Now for a month to test it out. So I've had some findings on that I can't wait to share with you guys. So that'll be something I'll work on pretty soon. So anywho, you want to say bye to the people?
Goodbye, people.
Goodbye. Thank you so much. We'll catch you next time.